I know I said we'll be getting another video today from Comet Lover the Messenger, but I have since seen something else which requires my immediate attention. A YouTube channel called Today Ministries has evidence for a young Earth, and I simply had to have a look. Hello all and welcome along to another episode of Tinfoil Tuesday with me, Simon Dan. Thank you very much for joining me. Before we begin today, a huge thank you to the sponsors of today's video, Surfshark VPN. Surfshark is a VPN service that makes online privacy protection easy and attainable, encrypting all internet traffic sent to and from your devices and ensuring that your IP address remains hidden to make sure no one can see what you do online. On top of that, they block ads, trackers, malware and phishing attempts, and unlike other VPN services, you can use it on as many devices as you want simultaneously. Now obviously in this day and age we spend so much time on the internet, it is ridiculous, sometimes up to 8 hours per day, especially in jobs like I do. And that's why we should care about what the internet knows about us. Now, have you ever seen an ad or banner which brought to mind that someone was listening into your conversations or reading your mind? And that is how your online data is being used against you. And you can use Surfshark to become resistant to these sorts of targeted adverts. Click the link in the description or go to surfshark.deals/SimonDan and use my code SimonDan to get a whopping 83% off and 3 months extra free. Right, back to today's video, which as I said at the start is a video from Today Ministries, and they've titled it Undeniable Proof That the Earth is Young. Now, I know what you're thinking, usually this doesn't pan out very well for them, but we are going to give them a chance. Away we go.
I look at Niagara Falls, and even secular reports in Niagara Falls would say it's been eroding for 12,300 years. Well, why hasn't Niagara Falls eroded further than that? Why is it at 12,300 years?
Here's why, buddy. Because the Niagara Falls themselves only formed about 12,000 years ago. Seems obvious when you know the answer, but needless to say, the falls can't erode anything for longer than it's existed.
It seems to me if the Earth, as we know it today, or North America, especially that area up there by Canada, and the United States, has been there for more than 12,000 years in a stable setting, which they would say it has, Niagara Falls should have eroded way farther than that. Niagara Falls is evidence, I would say, of a young Earth.
Okay, two things. 12,000 years is still twice as long as the Bible claims for the age of the Earth, so that doesn't really work. And secondly, it's not been in a stable state. The formation of the falls was caused by melting glaciers which caused huge freshwater lakes, and in doing so carved out the Niagara River. It's
Eroding at about 1 foot per year, depending on water flow. Some people say up to 10 feet, depending on how hard that layer is that it's cutting through right there. But that's a whole nother problem, erosion rates today.
Well, no, because erosion rates are very rarely continuous. The rates change. 1 foot per year is the current rate, but that is slowing. Now, the current limestone cap rock that it flows over is more resistant to erosion than the previous rock type. And hydroelectric power stations along the river have reduced the rate of water going over the falls. All of this so far isn't doing your evidence any favours, is it?
They've measured how long it would take to erode all the continents. Like to get North America to erode down to nothing, where North America is now at sea level. They say that would take about 10 million years. And this is with water, this is with rain, this is with basic erosion. This isn't the massive events. This is under not taking those into account because those are kind of small. The catastrophic things that we see are small compared to the normal erosion that's taking place. Well, if America and North America should be gone in 10 million years, how would we have rock that is still above sea level in North America, supposedly more than 10 million years old?
Because the 10 million year figure is bogus. Research suggests that it would take billions of years to erode an entire continent. Couple that with the fact that mountain ranges are still growing as we speak, then you can rest easy that your continent isn't going anywhere soon.
It should have been eroded down to nothing by now. How can we have fossils inside those rocks that are supposedly way more than 10 million years old still above sea level. How can we find dinosaur bones? I mean, when I was in Montana, I got to go look at dinosaur bones right there in the dirt. These dinosaur bones have some of them are fossilized, some of them are not fossilized. Some of them are partly fossilized, some of them are partly not fossilized, like in the same bone. If erosion would have taken these things off the continents.
But it wouldn't because of what I just said. Also, radiometric dating dates fossils in the regions of millions of years old, and you can't really argue with that.
In 10 million years. How do we still have fossil dinosaur bones, supposedly 65 million years old, still above sea level? It just doesn't make sense.
Personal incredulity city over here. Doesn't make sense to him, so therefore it couldn't have happened.
We find radioactive carbon-14. Carbon-14 is found inside of diamonds. Now, the carbon-14 that we see cannot last for more than 100,000 years. Like, that's maximum. You don't get carbon-14 to last more than 100,000 years.
True, there is very little carbon-14 left after about 100,000 years. Certainly not enough for carbon-14 dating anyway. Good job we have potassium-argon dating then, isn't it? Because that can successfully date things from around 100,000 years to 4.3 billion.
So why would we still see carbon-14 in diamonds? I mean, these are the hardest substance known to man. So you can't push carbon-14 into the diamonds and we threw some in, we soaked it in a bath of carbon-14 and that's why they're made out of carbon. Some of it's radioactive carbon. If we find any radioactive carbon in diamonds, that means they're less than 100,000 years old.
Many reasons for this. First off, contamination. Some of those samples could have been contaminated. Secondly, there still could be some carbon-14 atoms in there, just a few. Nowhere near enough for carbon dating, but certainly a few atoms may remain. Either way, 100,000 years is still vastly older than how old you think the Earth is.
And we find significant amount of carbon-14 in diamonds. They can't be more than 100,000 years old. And according to the secular, I keep calling it secular, according to an old Earth interpretation, diamonds probably formed somewhere around 200 to 300 million years ago. So we've got a big problem. We got
more like at least 1 billion years old, but I'd love to see that evidence that states that carbon-14 is in diamonds.
We got rock arches in North America, and these are actually around the world. If you look at the rock arches, though, they're eroding away. They're constantly crumbling down. 43 rock arches have fallen since 1970. There's about 2,000 of these. Well, how come we still have these arches around? If this system, if this erosional event that took these out occurred hundreds of thousands or millions of years ago to create this erosion, we shouldn't see these arches, these fragile arches that we still have today.
Here's the thing though, buddy. Erosion is constantly happening all the time, even today. It's not just a historical event. An arch that collapsed today probably wasn't even formed when an arch collapsed 1 million years ago.
So arches are great evidence that the Earth, North America here, is not millions of years old.
He keeps referencing North America only. Why is that?
There's also a lack of bioturbidation. This is the tilling of the ground. Insects, worms, they burrow down into the ground and they actually stir up the soil. So they actually make it where if you had level or layered soil, they actually are constantly tilling that soil up and making it where those layers are now kind of mixed together. Insects do this all the time. Well, you would expect to see lots of this mixing as insects lived throughout the world while these layers are being formed, because you got this layer supposedly, 300 million years old, this one 295 million years old, this one 290 million years old. Over millions of years, you'd expect to see this bioturbidation.
Soil is not rock, but it can lead to the creation of rock. However, once a layer is lithified and a new layer is above it, then it can no longer be mixed up by ants and insects and stuff like that.
Well, we don't see that. What we see is nice, neat layers. It's as if these were laid down very quickly.
Nothing could be further from the truth. It could take millions of years for soil to eventually become sedimentary rock.
By water, all around the world. The biblical flood makes sense of the science, of the geology that we see today. We've got things like the Great Unconformity. I got to go to this spot right here with Dr. John and actually a whole group of guys. It was pretty cool, where you actually get to see where creation rock, the granites and the schists, meet the judgment rock. All of a sudden, now it's layered. This is where creation and the flood meet. The foundations of the earth meet the flood layers. This layer is called the Great Unconformity because right in between those two rock layers that you see us standing next to. So you see the layers that are not stratified, that's the granites, and then the ones that are stratified right above it. We're missing somewhere around a 500 million to 1 billion years in geologic time that's been either eroded away or however you want to say it's gone. There's rock layers there that are completely missing.
Now, these unconformities could easily be put down to a time where no rocks were formed at all, or rocks were formed, but it was eroded very easily.
This makes sense with a global flood. It doesn't make sense. And this layer, by the way, is found around the world. I was just in the Wisconsin Dells. I did a movie on that. You can watch that, Operation Wisconsin Dells. It doesn't make sense in an old Earth worldview. It does make sense in a flood model, in a catastrophic model.
But it doesn't make any sense with a flood model at all, and there is still no real hard evidence for a global flood. And on top of all of that, radiometric dating literally tells us the Earth is way, way older than 6,000 years. And you just can't argue with that. You just can't. Dear oh dear. These young Earth creationists are very stubborn, aren't they? Well, there we go. That is another Tinfoil Tuesday, all done and dusted. I wonder what else is on the Creation Today Ministries YouTube channel. Maybe we'll have another look soon. But for now, we're all done and dusted, as I said, for another Tinfoil Tuesday. Thank you so much for watching. It truly is appreciated. If you enjoyed it today, hit that like button and certainly consider subscribing to the channel. Recent analytics state that around 50% of people that watch this channel aren't yet subscribed. So if you aren't, please do hit that subscribe button now. Just enough time to once again thank Surfshark for sponsoring today's video. Remember, click the link in the description or visit surfshark.deals/SimonDan and use the code SimonDan to get that 83% off and 3 months extra free. I've been Simon Dan. Have yourselves a great week, and I'll see you all on Friday for the return of Terry R. Iker and his debunking of Professor Dave. See you then.